first of all, Lee, before we get into looking ahead, of course, to the next game and how you're preparing, I think everything was put in perspective at the end of the game on Saturday. Never mind the result. One of your supporters went to the game and never went home. From the manager, your little tribute.
Yeah, so sad. Stopped us in our tracks really when we found out the news. I believe he's a lifelong Crewe fan, been coming for many years. And your attention just immediately, your thoughts just go with the family. You just can't imagine how they're feeling when they hear the news on Saturday. Real horrible news. Like you say, it just makes you stop a second and have a think about the family and what they must be going through. But really, really sad news. Really sad news.
As we know, football always pulls together. I think there's been a lot of comments on social media from all sorts of different clubs, and that's what the game is like, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone will rally around the family. You know, I reach out to them. You know, I want to try and speak to them as quickly as possible. I appreciate what they're going through. At the minute, it must be really tough, but the football community is there for them. If and when they need us, you know, the club will do our own tribute as best as we can to Chris. But really sad news, and just our thoughts are with his immediate family.
Well, let's move on then and think about what's coming up and how you're preparing. But managers set the standards, don't they? They're the leaders of whatever happens, whether you win, lose or draw. And you're certainly somebody that goes along with that. Is that a big motivation for you when you have a setback?
In terms of standards, we were miles away from what we can look like miles away. We didn't hit the standards, and if you lose a game, there's a way of losing a game, and that's not the way you lose a game. We didn't even contest it at 2-0. It's one of the hardest results to go in at half time at 2-0 for any team. And we didn't even contest it. We didn't get near it at 2-0, and then they've obviously scored their third, and it's lights out. But way below what we consider good enough, what the fans consider good enough. Like I say, there's a way of losing a football match, and that definitely is not a way of losing the football match, and the players will be reminded of that.
You couldn't have had a bigger incentive to come than taking on the league leaders to bounce back.
It's whoever we're playing is the incentive. Keep going back to taking one game at a time. Every game, our next game is always our biggest game, and that's how we're looking at it. So regardless of who's coming tomorrow night, after what's gone on Saturday, we know what standards and what we've got to hit, and it's something I'll be laying down to the players and already have done to get to them levels that we showed against Stockport, because there can't be that big of a contrast between performances. I think I know my reasons why, and again I'll be letting the players know that. It's them to answer the question that I'm going to ask them shortly in the meeting.
You'll stand up and be counted, as you've just outlined that. You'll be looking for leaders, characters and ability when it all comes together again at 8:15 Tuesday night.
Yeah, a lot of it's down to the character of people. They've got to show that now. They showed it against Stockport. The group's shown it's capable of bouncing back after tough losses. That's what we need them to do now, and it's all about character, sticking together, making the training ground lively. Don't want anybody walking around sulking. Should be disappointed with losing games, should be disappointed in the manner we've lost the game. But it's how we react, and character's big for that. Don't just look at your own performance and worry about your own little bubble. We've got to worry about each other and how we can make each other better.
I know you don't like talking about individuals because you always say, as a manager, there's no I in team, but how big a loss was Calvin Mellor and Ron McDonald after the event?
Yeah, obviously, they played the majority of the games, haven't they? Been excellent doing that, and them two playing adds real balance to that back line. We'll find out more on Calvin today. Touch wood, we're hoping for good news. Rod will be out doing a fitness test, so we'll find out if he's going to be available. And then, obviously, Billy came back into the team. He'd been out for a while. It was a tough ask of him, really, to perform that. Sean had only been in the building a day. He'd only met the players for a day, so he was always going to be on the bench. Looking to introduce him. I thought he did fine when he come on. I thought he showed some life and character. When you miss two players that played the majority of games at the back in a team that's keeping a lot of clean sheets, of course it's going to be a miss. and then you're asking the players to step up to the plate. And again, circumstances meant they found it a tough afternoon.
Throughout the season, I know we've talked before about inconsistency, but when you had one or two setbacks in results, your team has bounced back and gone on little mini runs.
Yeah, and that's what they're capable of, and that's what they've got to do now. We have to do that now. We've got games coming. There is not any time to sit around and mope and get upset, and there isn't. Yes, be frustrated, be angry and frustrated. That's what I want them to do. Angry and frustrated, because we haven't got time. We're on to the next one today. Tomorrow, the game comes. They'll have a day's rest. It's a training session. The game comes. So we need them to be angry and frustrated, and take that with them into the training session this morning, when they go to bed tonight, so they're ready and chomping at the bit tomorrow to play the game. And we've got to bounce back. We have to show more than what we showed on Saturday. That does not represent this group, and it is us as staff. Definitely doesn't.
What are the strengths of Leyton Orient? It sounds a bit of a daft question at the top of the league, and they're going really well, but they must have a real strength of something you've identified.
They've got a really good depth in squad, in terms of what they can pick from, which is a real bonus to them. So when they move players around, they can still play with the same formation and the same fluidity, and that they do. They have good interchanges, real set patterns of play. They're obviously a good team because they've been at the top of the table for most of the season, but we played them once already this season in the cup, and we've got to go into the game like we did in that mindset. There was a freshness about the group for obvious reasons, and we want that to continue from our perspective tomorrow night. Let's
just hope that one or two of those players who you mentioned can be ready to be available for selection, but you've got a process of going through now and selecting your team. I suppose the options are there for you. Have you picked your team, or have you got still a few things to go over?
No, picked my team. Picked it. We were working yesterday. It's important we know that, so we've got clarity in our heads what we're looking for in the game. So we've picked the team, and we'll be working on it this morning. We've got slightly better options now, haven't we, in the bench in terms of depth. Charlie Finney will be rejoining the group this morning, which is good news for us. So it just keeps adding to it. Like I say, performances will keep people in the team.